Now, focus tayo sa negotiation kasi yun yung topic natin for today eh. So how do we go with negotiation? Uncovering, knowing the interest of your clients. Ano yung interest ng kliyente natin? Ang interest po ay ang mga desires or concerns ng mga partido. Ano ba talaga yung gusto ko? Di ba? Gusto kong gusto kong tumaas yung aking kita. Yan yung concern ng industry. Ano yung concern ng kabila? Gusto ko din kumita. Oh, pares pala kayo gustong kumita eh. Ano yung problema? Di ba? So, gagawa nyo ng paraan na para kumita kayong dalawa. Yan yung isa yan. And then, the important here is asking why. Bakit? And then, ano yung mga questions na kailangan? Kaninong desisyon ang gusto kong maapektuhan sa pagbabargain na to? Desisyon ba ng specific individual, yung CEO ng kabilang partido, chairman, o yung board of directors? What decisions people on the other side now see you asking them make? So example, hihingan ko ng hingan ko ng increase in price yung head ng kumpanya na to. Pag rinant niya yung aking decision, ano kaya yung mangyayari? Magagalit ba sa kanya yung mga stockholders niya? Magkakaroon ba siya ng problema sa kanyang market? Kasi masyadong mahal na yung bibenta niya. Pag tinaas niya yung kan. So yun yung mga kailangan nating sagutin. So the key is analyzing the consequences. Ito po yung checklist na titingnan nyo mamaya. Mahaba po yan. Kasi yung point is, yung interest ng bawat partido is not just is not singular. It's actually multiple interest. Madami pong concern. Pag sinabi ko sa inyo price, hindi lang ibig sabihin nun ay economic yung concern ko. Madami pong possible yan. Example, will I lose or gain political support? Pag nag-agree ako sa iyo ng price na mataas, baka naman i-dismiss ako ng aking stockholders. Di ba? So that's a political. So it's not something that's bottom line ng kumpanya or financial or economic. So you have to answer that. You have to be aware of that. Will my colleagues criticize or praise me? For example, it's a family-run business. If I agree to the proposal of the other party, baka naman magkaroon ako ng pagkakaroon ng family dispute sa aming pamilya because of that, di ba? So you have to be aware of that. What will be the short-term consequences and the long-term consequences? What will be the economic consequences? What will be the effect on outside supporters and public opinion? Baka naman, pag ginant ko sa'yo, yung sinasabi mo, paano baka naman pagalitan ako ng mga other members in the industry. I will be isolated. So, kailangan kasi, I will align my price together with the other players in the industry. Important consideration yun. Kasi most likely, meron din silang business relationship. Okay? Will the president be good or bad? Pag ginant ko to, baka naman hindi na ako makagalaw sa future. It will decrease the flexibility involved. Will making the decision prevent doing something better? Is the action consistent with our principles? Is it right? Can I do it later if I want? So realize that each side has multiple interests involved. The most powerful interests are, of course, the basic human needs. Security, economic well-being, sense of belonging, recognition, control over life. Kaya kayo, as representatives of the ARBs, ito usually yung main interest ng mga ARBs. So ano yung maganda dito? Yung kanilang interests are actually the most powerful interest. If you appeal to the other party based on this interest, yun yung mas kailangan yung i-emphasize. Gagamitin nyo yan kasi yan yung mga pinaka-powerful when it comes to negotiation. So, we make a list of interests, find an effective way to explain to the other party what your interests are. Be specific. Hindi yung basta sasabihin nyo kasi world peace. Di ba? Parang ganyan. Be very specific kasi po, magkakaroon tayo ng problema sa barangay ganito pag hindi sila makakapunta, hindi sila makapagtrabaho na maayos. Be very specific kasi the creating a very concrete picture actually gives actual faces sa negotiators who are actually the people involved. And it's easier. Rather than you negotiate based on sheer ideas, mas maganda yon you put actual faces para mas humane yung approach na sa negotiation. Okay. Do not dismiss, important to, the other side's interest as unimportant or illegitimate. Kahit na sobrang meron ng animosity or medyo heated pa rin, accept natin na yung demand, no matter how incredible, could still be valid or could still be legitimate. The key doon is, later as we will see, is to ask, bakit po yan yung hinihingi ninyo? You have to ask why. And then, di ba? Pag tinanong mo yon, masasagot mo kung bakit ganyang kataas o ganyang kababa yung kanyang, bakit naman po 10 centavos lang yung per, di ba? Ganun na yung hinihingi nyo, 10 cents lang per box, for example. That's very, very ridiculous price. So, yung naka-indicate yata dun sa problem nyo. So, tatanungin nyo sila. Bakit? Kasi doon yung malalaman kung ano talaga yung interest, yung reason behind that particular position. Once na malaman nyo yan, yung interest na yan yung mag-guide sa inyo on how you will proceed with negotiation. So, by getting the list of interest, you were able to develop more options for mutual, just list the possible options for mutual gain. So, avoid, how do you develop more options? Avoid premature judgment, the assumption of a fixed pie. Ano ba yung fixed pie? Pag binigay ko sa iyo 60%, ang sa akin 40% lang. Bakit hindi nag-a-apply yun? Kasi, pwede naman, hindi naman sila mutually exclusive Possible I get 60%, pero the 20% of that 60% could also benefit me. So 60-60 kayong dalawa, di ba? Actually, in reality. So kahit na, of course, 120% yan. But it's not a fixed pie always. The assumption of the thinking that solving the problem is their problem. So yung problem nyo lang, problema nyo yun. Hindi pwede yun. Actually, yung problema nyo, problema nating dalawa kasi we are both involved in this negotiation. Rather, separate the act of inventing options from the act of judging them to broaden the options at the table rather than look for a single answer. Search for mutual gains and invent ways of making their decision easy. So ngayon, madami ka ng nilist na ma-interest, options. Ano yung next step? Para makapag-usap tayong dalawa, we devise an objective criteria. How are we going to proceed with this negotiation? Ano ba yung objective criteria na yon? Okay? So, usually, you bring in standards of fairness, efficiency, scientific merit to bear on your particular problem, the more likely you are to produce a final package that is wise and fair. So you provide a very concrete objective criteria. Ang tanong dyan, if they propose a criteria, bawat isa kasi in their interest, they would be proposing a criteria. You have to ask the other party, how did you arrive with that criteria? To know kung ano talaga yung reason nila. So frame each issue as a joint search for an objective criteria. Reason and be open to reason as to which standards are most appropriate and how they should be applied. Never yield to pressure, only to principle. So yung principle, that's guided by the interest. Hindi pwede na, later on may mga dirty tactics dyan na i-discuss tayo. Pressure. Hindi dapat doon. We really have to go back to the interest involved, to the to the principles involved. Another thing that you need to develop is to know your BATNA. Ano yung BATNA? The best alternative to a negotiated contract. Kung hindi tayo natuloy with a negotiated contract, ano yung best alternative ko? Kung alam mo yan, yan yung mag-guide sa'yo na kung ano yung i-accept mo, kung anong i-reject mo. Okay? So, you have to invent a list of actions you might conceivably take if no agreement is reached. Improving some of the more promising ideas and converting them into practical alternatives. Selecting tentatively the one option that seems best. So, and then yung BATNA na yan, nagbabago yan. Or you could improve it. Example, nakita nyo, kung example, hindi kayo nag-negotiate, ano ngayon yung gagawin mo? Ay, hindi na ako tatanim ng saging, tatanim ako ng ube. Hindi naman covered yun ng kontrata, di ba? Yun yung isa sa mga BAT na pwede mong gawin. And also consider the other side's BAT na. Pag hindi sila natuloy, anong gagawin nila? Kukuha sila sa kabilang cooperative, for example. You have to know that. Important, if the other side has big guns, you do not want to turn the negotiation into a gunfight. Diba? Bakit? Kasi nga wala kang baril na malaki, diba? To the extent that they have muscle and you have principle, the larger a role you can establish for principle, the better off you are. Kasi yun yung hawak mo eh. Yung prinsipyo, yung interest involved, your awareness of what is really involved in this negotiation, yun yung panglaban mo. Kasi yun yung mas mag-rely ka dun eh. You cannot engage them in more money, in more guns, di ba? So, yung gagawin natin, example, hindi talaga sila, is what they call is negotiation jiu-jitsu. Instead of fighting them back, kasi you can fight them back, di ba? With the same force, kasi weaker ka nga, di ba? That's a gunfight eh. You use their force. Do not reject them. Instead, sidestep their attack and deflect it against the problem. Okay, paano ginagawa yan? Don't attack their position, look behind it. The same thing. Tingnan nyo, bakit nila ginagawa yan? Treat their position as a possible solution, but make them realize that their position is ridiculous. Yayaman ho ba talaga kayo sa ginagawa ninyo? Di ba? Konti lang naman yan eh. So treat their position. Ask them how it addresses them. Paano ho ba nasusolve ng proposal ninyo yung problema natin dito? Okay? Don't defend your ideas. Actually invite criticism and advice. Yung tingin nyo po, na stupid yung aking position. Bakit po stupid yung position ko? Ano ba yung proposal niyo? Para maging wise naman yung position ko, yung aking proposal. At kapag wala na silang, hindi makikita nila, wala pa sila, hindi pala nila napag-isipan na maayos yung position ninyo eh. That's the only reason why they keep on insisting on their position, because they're not listening to your position. Diba? Then malalaman nila yun. That will be makikita ng mga sa negotiation table na ganun talaga on how ridiculous their position is. When the other side attacks you personally, resist the temptation to defend yourself. Recast their attack as an attack on the problem. So use question and pause. Yun yung question and pause, question and pause. Bakit po? Tapos if no improvement, hindi talaga nag-i-improve, then that's the role of mediation. You explore a possibility of a third-party neutral who knows the real interest of the parties to guide you through a negotiated contract. Paano if they use dirty tricks? Okay? Ano ba yung mga dirty tricks muna? Deliberate deception. Signing bonus daw. That's an example of deliberate deception, di ba? Yayaman kayo bigla kung magpipirma kayo nito. Pero in the end, Actually, mas pahirap yung buhay. Di ba? Psychological warfare. Stressful situation. Good guy, bad guy. Saka threat. So, yan yung mga psychological warfare. Yan, part yan ng psychological warfare. Another is positional pressure tactics. Refusal to negotiate. Extreme demand. Escalating demands. Hard-hearted partner. Calculated delay. Take it or leave it. So, ano yung gagawin natin pag ganyan yung sitwasyon? Recognize the tactic. And then raise the issue explicitly. So, then question the tactic's legitimacy and desirability and negotiate over it.